Now, look, there's yet another important dimension that we need to understand for consumer research, and that is that the most important behaviours to observe, the most important behaviours that we need to observe and understand to get a handle in a sense of what makes us tick are the most basic everyday things that we do, right? So, things that we would, things that, you wouldn't make a documentary about basically because they're too everyday, too habitual, and too mundane, right? But by understanding those habitual, mundane, everyday behaviours, you can really get into an understanding of what makes people tick. Looking at people's extreme behaviours gives you a sort of an insight into their personality, but nowhere near as much as understanding their more everyday, or what the normal world calls mundane behaviours. Now, I don't call these mundane behaviours anymore, because these are the behaviours and these are the needs that we really understand to make, in terms of what makes consumers tick. And, Wittgenstein, I won't quote him again, but Wittgenstein also said that, the aspect of things that are most important to us, right, are hidden to us because of their familiarity, right? So the things that we do every day, these really, really important things, the significance of those things is actually hidden because we're so basically familiar with them. So the familiarity with our behaviour basically hides or prevents us from really understanding that behaviour as well, right? And that's why this guy called Ernest Dichter, a very famous market researcher from the 50s and the 60s and 70s, one of his books was titled The Psychology of Everyday Living. Right? He was bang on the money, right? Because it's about the minutiae of everyday life. Right? The minutiae of everyday life gives you an indication into the human condition and basically what makes people tick. Right? So that explanation, the explanation for our behaviour is, in a sense, sometimes can be so simple because it basically occurs every day. And this is a really, really important thing to understand, because these little things that we do every day are hugely important indicators of who we are. But what do we call these in research? We dismiss these things a lot of the time as, oh, that's a habit. Oh, that's a habit, that's a habit. It's an attribute on questionnaires, it's a finding, oh, this thing is a habit. Well, I mean, there's no such thing as a habit. We shouldn't dismiss a habit as meaningless. A habit, in fact, has the most meaning. Understanding a habit is the most important thing in the world. If you understand habits, you understand what makes people tick, right? There are no habits, they are just repetitive needs that occur all the time that must be fulfilled. If we understand what those repetitive needs that demand fulfillment are, then basically we're onto something. We're not onto something by dismissing things simply as habits, right? The day-to-day minutiae of our life provide the real insights in terms of what makes the consumer tick. Now, it's boring material if you want to create a bestseller, right? But we're not trying to create bestsellers. We're trying to create insight and realisation that can basically create marketing strategies and tactics and so on and so forth.